Welcome to My College Corner. I'm John Hupalo of Invite Education. When Invite Education was born, I thought it would be a private student loan lender with a new twist. We'd only make loans to those who completed a short financial literacy program. I quickly learned, though, that there's no concrete universal understanding of just what financial literacy is. It really has different meanings for different people. Well, today's show is focused on financial literacy because my passion about this has only grown. April has been Financial Literacy Month in the United States since 2003, so there's no more appropriate time to talk about it. And you're in store for a real treat today as I have a Financial Literacy Hall of Famer with me in my college corner. Last year, I had the privilege of attending the Institute for Financial Literacy's annual conference and met the winner of their prestigious Excellence in Financial Literacy Education Educator of the Year award. Her body of work in this area covers more than 20 years. She's a professor of economics at Bridgewater State University here in Massachusetts, the director of financial literacy and economic education at BSU. She's the president of not one, but two not for profit companies, the Rhode Island Jump Coalition, and also the Rhode Island Council for Economic Education. You really can't talk about financial literacy in New England without mentioning today's guest in My College Corner, Dr. Margaret Brooks. Margaret, welcome to the program.
Thank you, John. I'm glad to be here.
Well, as you might recall, and I certainly do, we sat at the same table at that dinner at IFL's conference last year, and we're having a nice chat. And then the next thing I know, you're on stage receiving the Educator of the Year award. I mean, it was quite an honor for you, I'm sure.
Yes, I was very honored and very happy to be there and to just meet with so many educators, including yourself, to talk about financial literacy and ways that we can advance it.
Well, I have to tell you, since that day, I've followed your work really closely and I'm just so impressed by your passion for this topic. It's palpable, and people who are with you understand that. How'd you first get involved in this field?
Well, I think it came just from my upbringing. I was actually grew up with a family of 9 children, and we were definitely very aware of the issue of scarce resources. So from a very early age, was very wanted to learn more about economics, the choices that we make, and how those choices really can impact our lives and our communities. So I was always driven to study economics. That's the first course I took when I got to college.
Well, that's really terrific. I was going to ask you about the chicken and the egg. Was it really the passion for financial literacy that drove you to become a professor of economics, or did your passion around being a professor drive you toward more focus on financial literacy? Did you see something, an opportunity really to try to help others have that very basic understanding that you learned as a child as you were foraging for scarce resources in your family?
Yes, so I do think my interest in economics was first and foremost, but financial understanding was part of that. Then the fact that we need to make choices and that there are budgets and that we have constraints in our lives. I think this was an integral part of the way I saw economics. So yes, it is something that came. I didn't see myself at first becoming a professor. I just wanted to learn about economics. But as my life evolved, as my education evolved, I saw myself hoping to become a teacher, an educator in this field so that I could spread the knowledge with others.
And now you're an Educator of the Year, so there are many students of yours who have benefited from your great work over a long course of time. But let me just ask you, I like to ask all my guests, did you need to take student loans to achieve your college dreams and your post-college dreams?
Actually, I did. I earned my 3 degrees at Brown University, bachelor's and master's and Ph.D. in economics. And, it was a pretty expensive school. I did search and received scholarships that helped with much of it. But I still did graduate with about $90,000 of student loans for all of my degrees. So I was fortunate enough to get a job at Bridgewater State University. Before that, for a few years, I had taught at the University of Rhode Island. So that would position me to be able to pay off those student loans after I graduated. And I did make that a high priority and was able to pay that off within 10 years. So even then, I just felt like I didn't want that burden. And I know that that's something that today's students have to worry about, that burden of student loan debt.
And you're right, and we talk a lot about that on My College Corner, but the point that I always make, and you just made it in spades, is that even if you graduate with 50, 60, 90, $100,000 in debt, if you have a career path and a plan and a job afterward, it can be a really worthwhile investment for students. So it's good to know your personal story and that for those students who may be listening or parents wondering if this makes sense, there is an opportunity at that end of the rainbow to make it a worthwhile investment, no matter what the amount of debt you might have taken.
I agree 100%. It is an investment in yourself, and I think that it is definitely worthwhile. But, so again, to try to find a path that minimizes the amount of student loan debt you had is helpful, and to pay it off as quickly as possible after you graduate and you're in a position to do so.
And I wanted to ask you also, just over the last 5 or 10 years, has the capacity for parents and students has it changed? Are they thinking about financial literacy different? The question really I wanted to ask you at the core is, how has financial literacy evolved? How have you seen it evolve over the course of the last 5 or 10 years?
I do think that in recent years that there's been an increasing focus on the importance of financial literacy at younger ages. I think there's more and more discussion about that because students, by the time they come to college, they've already made a lot of financial decisions. Just the fact of choosing which college to go to, whether to live in a dorm or not, or order a meal. So these are things you can't wait until college to take a course in. It's something that the decisions were made not only with the students but with their families. About driving a car, whether you're going to live on campus, and if you're not living on campus, do you need a car? So there's just a multitude of decisions also about working that are coming into play. So I think that in order to educate our students so that they can make the best choices for themselves, that financial literacy training has to start young and build. It's not a one-time class. It's not a one-time lecture that you go to and you will know everything for the rest of your life. It is an ongoing process.
When we talk to younger families, we make that point all the time. And one of the observations I have just in general is that it seems that folks are so time constrained that they want the answer. They don't want the process. But what you're telling us is financial literacy is a process that starts really very young for families.
It is definitely a process, and again, and when there's more than one child in the family, it does complicate the process, but it still needs to be examined. It does need to be looked at in terms of multiple children, multiple decisions about where to go to college, so, and about work decisions, and even what major to choose when you're in college. A lot of these decisions are made before, and again, some students may choose a different path, more of a career technical path. But again, we're going to require some money to follow that path, and that's a decision that needs to be done in the earlier grades.
And I know that in your work, you've really been a master of forming coalitions and partnerships and collaborations with others. And our mutual friends over at the Rhode Island Student Loan Authority, their College Planning Center, your fellow Brown alumnus, now the state treasurer in Rhode Island, Mr. Seth Magaziner, and of course, your friend and colleagues at the Mass Council of Economic Education, Scott Guild, and others. How do you form those coalitions? How do you identify what issues it is that you'd like to tackle and at what age? I'm very interested in that process.
Well, I think it's developing partnerships over time. It's organizing events that have opportunities to invite others to come together, whether it be as speakers, whether we sit at the same table and simply have our discussions. I think that's the value of coalition, and to recognize everyone's contribution at that table. So I think that recognition that we all have something to offer is extremely valuable. And I think even bringing that professional perspective in as well is good, because we've partnered a lot with Fidelity Investments on teacher training programs, and having a Fidelity expert who explain the details of a particular investment, I think that is very important and can be very enlightening to hear the words from a professional, or to have someone from a bank who come in and talk about certain aspects of banking that we may not be aware of. I think that is a way that we bring together and get that knowledge, but also develop those connections.
Yeah, and what you're saying is that the state officials like the treasurers, the authorities like the Rhode Island Student Loan Authority or MIFA here in Massachusetts, or private companies like Fidelity and some of the credit unions I know that you work with in Rhode Island, but bringing those all together and bringing their expertise into a single location where families can avail themselves is just very powerful and very helpful, I'd imagine, all those families.
It is. Yes, and I think just coming together and not seeing each other as competitors, but rather people who work together with different aspects. I mean, Junior Achievement has also been a great partner, and again, they look at certain aspects of it. They tend to look more, some of the more entrepreneurial aspects of that. But also that is very valuable because I think in today's economy we all have to have an element of that entrepreneurial spirit or understanding in managing our own lives. So I think there's just a lot to be learned by coming together, and those partnerships, we build our power through those partnerships.
That is absolutely wonderful. Let me, we're running hard to believe, but we're almost at the 10-minute mark of our discussion already. But one of the things that you do so well, Margaret, is really bring in this idea of social media. I don't know how many Twitter handles you have, but I follow at least 5 of them. And could you just talk a little bit about the importance of social media today, reaching families and spreading the good word that you're spreading?
Well, I think I do have 9 Twitter accounts.
9? All right. I'm a little behind. I'm sorry.
I have to let you know about the other 4. No, but they're for both Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And I think they're very valuable forum for reaching people who are on that medium. We can take pictures and convey what's going on at our different events for those people who can't be there. They can see, and they can feel a part of it. It also recognizes people who are at an event so that they are able to, just sort of capture the moment and have that to share with their families. So I think that it's really important. It also brings information that we want to share with the community. If there's a new study released, a new podcast that comes out from Invite Education, or anything like that, we want to make sure that we get that information to people so that they'll have it. Because it's a constant, we need to constantly update our knowledge of what financial literacy is.
No question. As you said at the beginning, and probably a good place to wrap up, it is a process. And what you've done to help that process for people here in New England is really top of the line. I'm so happy that you were recognized last year for your efforts. Let me just ask you on the way out, are there any April events related to the Financial Literacy Month that we should know about?
Yes, we actually have a K-12 teacher workshop. It's for New England teachers. It's going to be held actually at the Fidelity Investments campus in Smithfield, Rhode Island. It's open to all New England teachers, and it's on Tuesday, April 11th. It's free, and it's on Eventbrite, so it's searchable on Eventbrite. So if any teachers are listening would be interested in attending that workshop, there's also substitute reimbursement available. So that if you're a teacher and you need to take the day out, but they need to hire us up to replace you, we have up to $75 to help the schools with that cost. So it enables the teachers to come. So we've got a good number of teachers who are signing up already. Registrations are coming in every day. So I think that's just a great, again, opportunity to come together with other teachers in the region and talk about what's going on in your school, what's going on in your state, and share that information with other ideas, teaching resources. And so it should be, the great event.
Well, that's terrific. And again, Margaret, thank you so much for being a guest on My College Corner today. We've learned a lot, and I look forward to working with you in the year to come.
Thank you very much, John. I really appreciated the opportunity to speak with you, and I'm honored. I look forward to continuing that conversation.
I as well. Well, that's Dr. Margaret Brooks, and I have to tell you, Invite Education and My College Corner really does look forward to continuing to support her great work. And thank you all for spending a few minutes with us today in the My College Corner. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow us at Twitter at Invite Education. Send your comments, questions, and ideas to podcast@inviteeducation.com. And until next time, remember, saving $1 today is better than borrowing one tomorrow.